Got some people coming in. Welcome, everyone. As you pop in, if you don't mind, type in chat where you're from. I'd love to know. Also, maybe give me an idea if you have seen Deal Driven before, or if you're brand new to it. That'll help me kind of understand at what level we need to do this initial demo. Hey, Brad. Let's see. We'll give it a couple more minutes. Let everybody come in. Kristen is going to be monitoring the chat. So as we are doing the demo, feel free to type your questions. Hey, Neil, and we will make sure to have plenty of time for questions at the end. I need to keep this overall to about 45 minutes. I'll make sure we have plenty of time. We can talk about anything you'd like. We can go into as much detail as you want, or if you've got some burning questions that you haven't gotten answered about the technology, let's get them out there tonight. And we'll try my best to get them answered for you. If I don't know the answer, I will figure out who does and get back to you. See, we're not quite 7 o'clock yet, so I'm going to give it a couple more minutes. Numbers are climbing. Again, anybody that's new, go ahead and type in the chat and let us know where you're from. Love to know. Hey, Shane. You bet, Sandy. Glad to be here. Hey, Mo. Tom Thompson, good to see you. Hey, Sandy from New Mexico, and Renee. Michael. All right, we got people from all over. I love it. Works out well because our product has coverage in all 50 states. So wherever you are, we got you. Hey, David. Hey, Christine. Kyle, Ralph, John. All right, we got Savannah, Georgia, Alabama, Florida. Alpharetta, you're near me. Matt, I'm in Roswell. Hello, Chicago. Eugene from Chicago, good to see you. Well, not see you, hear you. All right, well, I think we can get going. If anybody that comes in a little later, we'll try to catch them up. So what I'm gonna do is, first of all, get my camera lined up so you're not looking at the bottom of my head. I'm gonna do a demo of the product. I'm gonna cover all the major pieces of functionality. I won't go into incredible detail, but I'll definitely cover all the major pieces and try to focus on some of the highlights. And then, like I said, I'll leave plenty of time for questions at the end. Feel free to type your questions along the way. Kristen will be tracking them, and I'll try to keep an eye on them, although I'm not all that good at doing that at the same time I'm demoing. And we'll answer them all toward the end of the demo. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my browser with you. Yeah, let me get some things out of the way here. So I will assume everybody can see my screen. Looks like we do. So you're probably already familiar with Deal Driven, but it's an off-market real estate research tool at its simplest form. That's what it is. We have licensed, among other things, tax records of well over 100 million properties in over 3,000 counties nationwide, all 50 states. And so what that gives you is obviously all of the basic information about properties that you'd want to know, beds, baths, and so forth, but then all the tax assessor information, tax history, and then from there we can give you the owner's name, the owner's mailing address. You can take it a step further, get their phone number, get their email address. So all the information you need to both research a property, understand if it makes sense for you to proceed with, and also contact the homeowners if you'd like to make an offer or negotiate with that person. We keep track of numerous different property statuses. We can tell you if a property is likely vacant, if they're in pre-foreclosure, if they have an auction date, if they're non-owner occupied, if a cash buyer purchased that property. So we have lots of information about a property that we give you, all for, as part of your unlimited search package. So let me go ahead, and I'm just going to start out on what we call the dashboard, and I'm going to use this as my kickoff point for all the major pieces of functionality. So when you first registered, and by the way, I'm going to skip demoing the registration process because it's very straightforward. It takes 1 minute tops, and then you'll see this exact screen that I see. And we'll start in the top left at property/driving search. This is what you're going to use when you're driving around searching for properties. When you want to use the GPS on your phone, look at a property, look it up immediately in the field and do property research. Or if you happen to have an address and you just want to look up that property really quickly, you're going to use this property driving search. The next type of search we call our lead building search. And this is how you're going to scale. Obviously, driving for dollars is an invaluable, incredibly important thing to do. But another thing you're going to want to do is search for properties in a large area from the comfort of your home or for the comfort of your iPhone. That's what lead building search will do. It'll let you create very specific search criteria in a very specific search area and build lists of properties. And then from those lists, you can pull ownership information, send direct mail, etc. So this is how you're going to build your high volume property lists. And then here we've got view property list. This is just your way you can quickly, every time you log in, go to look at your existing lists. View marketing campaigns will show you all properties for which you have direct mail marketing campaigns. And then some of these down here, help videos, premium content, and account profile. So without further ado on the introduction, let's just dive right in. I'm going to dive right into the driving/individual property search. And of course, you're immediately presented with a map, and you'll notice in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a legend with color coding of the different types of properties that we're going to highlight for you automatically. So we highlight properties we consider to be interesting, is a term we always use, i.e. if they're in pre-foreclosure, likely vacant, they've had a US Postal Service mail delivery change recently, we'll go ahead and flag that for you. Non-owner occupied, auction, if it was bought in cash, if it's currently listed on MLS, if it's an out-of-state owner, or if there's a tax delinquency. We will color code these properties. So as you're driving around, you can literally look down at your phone and eyeball to see if there's that type of property near you. You'll see these color codings for that. And then of course you can also tap on any particular land parcel and we'll instantly pull up information about that property. And when I say information, what we give you on that is of course the full mailing address out to the zip code, the valuation, and this is not a Zillow valuation. This is actually done by comparable sales in the area. So if it's a populated enough area that there are enough comparables to calculate a good valuation, then we'll give you that here. We instantly give you the equity percentage because we know the outstanding loan balance on these properties. We tell you the last sale amount and date. If you're interested in further information, you can tap on your phone or on your desktop, whichever you're using, and see much more detailed information about it. The building size, bed, baths, et cetera, the year it was built, type of zoning. We've already seen these two properties. The last sale date, the prior sale price, the prior sale date, the tax amount, the last year taxes were assessed, which will typically be the prior year, market value improvements, all the tax information that you're used to seeing. All the way down to here, you're going to notice current owner name. And this is obviously very important. This is the owner that owns the property, and it's the address where they receive their tax bill. So if you want to reach out to the property owner, particularly if it's non-owner occupied or other, this is where you're going to send your mailers. You're going to send it to this property owner's tax bill address. And that's what we give you automatically right out of the box as part of the search. So now let's assume, I apologize, got some allergies going on here. Let's assume that we do want to pursue this particular property. We want to add it to a list for further inspection later. You just simply click add. I can add it to my all properties list, which is kind of like a collection area where you can then sort them out later, or I can create a new list. For now, I'll just add it to my all properties list. So I just tap, spins for a second, and we're done. Now that property is saved in my property list for later, so I can continue driving. You'll notice on the map, there's a little checkbox, which is your cue that you've already added this property to one of your lists. And that checkbox will always be there when you're in this particular area. Now let's look at a couple other things we can do really quick with that property. I can instantly pull comps on it by just simply clicking the comps button. And you immediately see prior sales of similar properties in a very close area. Here we've got 0.08 miles all the way out to half a mile. And it'll calculate the average sale price of all of those comparables related to your property. So you can quickly get that. We can also look at that again later when we're researching. Additionally, if, for example, you're in a state where COVID lockdown is still in place, or you just want to do this type of research sitting at home, you can use our virtual feature. It's not available everywhere, but it's available in quite a few places, and actually look at the property from your desktop or your cell phone without physically being there. By just simply clicking that button, we immediately pull up the street view photo of the property. I can get this blue box out of the way, and I can navigate, excuse me, using these arrows and look at the property from different angles. And if I'm interested, once I've done that, let's say I want to look down the street and see other properties in this area. I can just simply virtually, well, unfortunately, I went to an area that doesn't have a property. I can virtually drive around. Let's go down here and find this house. Here we go. Oops. I can drive around virtually and look at properties, as you can see here. And then if I want to know more information about this property that I'm looking at virtually, I can click this identify button, and it will immediately tell me that property's address and all of the same information that we saw about that other property. So we call this virtual driving for dollars, and it's essentially a way for you to visually drive around without physically being there. Although physically being there, if you can, is always your best bet, because you can get a much better perspective on that property. Another thing we can do is, if I'm home virtually driving for dollars and I see a property I'm interested, I can quickly tap the nav button and automatically open up Google Maps or Waze on my smartphone, so I can just drive right there. So make it as convenient as possible. And then when I'm done with the virtual search and I want to go back to the map view, I just simply click that area. So the map has some features that you would expect. It's obviously got a center button, which will use the GPS on whatever device you're using to center, this car icon right in your physical location. We've also got some settings that you can change. I can change which properties are highlighted. For example, if I'm not interested in cash buyer properties or pre-foreclosures, if, for example, I'm only interested in vacants, I can turn off the others, and then I won't have such a cluttered selection of colored dots, depending on how populated the area you're searching is. I can also turn on house numbers if I want to see them all the time as I'm zoomed in. Let me actually search for an area that's more residential. So here you can see I have turned on house numbers. So if I zoom in, I'll instantly see the house number of all these land parcels, which makes it just a little bit easier, especially if you're in an area where maybe they don't have numbers on the mailboxes or they're not easily visible. You can turn that on. And as you would expect, I can also go to a satellite view if you'd like to. So I can see the satellite view of the same area. All the same information is available. I can still tap on the properties to see the individual details with the satellite view. So that covers all of the major features of the driving/individual property search. You can use this tool to very quickly build lists. And since I added that one property to a list before, well, let's go take a look at my lists. And what you're going to want to do is click the home button. It'll take you right back to this menu, and then click on view property lists. I currently only have one list, and it's my all properties list. You can have as many different lists as you want. Click on that, and I'll see the two properties that I've added, one that I had already added before this demo and one that I just added. And you see the list view shows some of the most critical information about that property. And then if I want further information, I can go into the detail view. Here's where we get all of those characteristics of the property that you saw before in that small card view, laid out in a much more organized and clean way for your review. All of these data elements are editable by you. So if by some other means you gather additional information, for example, maybe you talk to a realtor and you get an updated valuation, or you talk to the homeowner and they tell you about a sale that you weren't aware of, you can update all this information, and those updates are for you and your property only. You're not updating our master database or anything like that. This is your research that you're doing. And any of your updates are yours, and they're saved forever with your property. You can, of course, add notes. I'll give you unlimited amounts of note storage here. So as you're out in the field and you want to type things about the property, you can certainly add them there and they're saved forever. You can go grab photos of the property, and I can do it in a couple different ways. I can add photos by getting the Google Street Photos. So we'll go out and ask Google what kind of pictures it has of the house, and we'll just do this one on the fly and see. Okay, it has two pictures. It has a satellite view, which in this case is pretty much useless because it's so wooded, but it also has a street view. So we've got at least two pictures to start with. You're probably going to want to take some additional ones. And if you do that, you want to do that, you just click add your own photo, and you can use your camera phone, of course, and upload as many pictures of that property as you'd like. We've also got another feature here called Get Automatically for All Properties, and that's a premium feature. It's completely optional, but if you do turn that on, we will automatically grab all of Google's photos, Street View and Satellite View, for every single property that you add automatically. So where that's handy is if you're a high volume direct mailer and you're sending out thousands of mailers per month, we'll go ahead and get all those pictures for you. And it happens within minutes of you adding the property. We've also got what we call a docs button. Again, as you proceed down the process, if you're making offer or you're collecting documentation about a property, you can upload all of that documentation in Word docs or PDF or Excel files to Deal Driven using this docs button, and then click upload. And then that's just an easy way to keep it organized. It's all grouped with your property, and again, it's saved forever with your property. Also, while I'm in here with this, looking at the property details, I can generate a PDF for downloading or printing. And when I click that, you just tell us what you would like included in that PDF. For example, if I'm maybe showing this to an investor, I may only want to show them the property images and of course all of the background detail of the property. But if it's for my own reference, I may want to include my property mailers history, comparables, my skip trace info, meaning homeowner phone number, email address, that kind of thing. So you can adjust what's displayed in that PDF. There's a few other buttons here that are interesting. Comparables you saw before, but this takes it a step further, and it actually saves the comparables along with the property, so it's kind of part of your research. We also allow you to selectively choose a few of those comparables and calculate the average price. So if you want to exclude some of these, you can tell right away, for example, that it's not, you don't want it calculated within your average price. You can do that. You can check and then recalculate and see what the average price is of the ones that you've selected. We can also show you the comparables on a map, and obviously they're going to be centered around and very close to the subject property you're getting the comparable for. And once this is done, this is again saved forever. I know I'm repeating that, but it's very important. You'll never lose any of your work or any of your research when you pull these things. We like Trulia. If you want to see what this property's Trulia information is, just click this button and we'll immediately take you to it in Trulia, so you can get what they list as the comparables, and oftentimes they may have some additional photos from an MLM listing, so you can always pop out there. And let's see, the other thing I want to talk about here is starting direct mail. It's very easy once you've added a property to just immediately start a direct mail campaign to them. You just click this button. We've got a whole bunch of templates here. We give you a scrolling list of previews. Some of these templates allow you to customize a lot of the text, and some of them don't. Each one's different, but let's just say we want to use this We Buy Houses for Cash template. I can select it, click Start Mailer, and well, I haven't updated my signature, so this is a good exercise. My signature is missing information. So what I would need to do before I send out mailers, of course, is update my signatures so we know the return address for the mailer, for example. So I haven't filled that out. But once I fill that in, you can immediately start a direct mail campaign. That's actually a picture of me. I do need to shave. And we mail it on your behalf. We have a company that that handles all that for us. They do obviously all the printing, the mailing, the stamping, the tracking. That mailer is tracked all the way from the initial send all the way through to delivery and or return. So if you, for example, that address is not valid or they're not accepting mail, you'll get a notification that that mailer was returned. So literally from adding property to sending a direct mailer, it's a very, very quick process. Direct mail is typically processed the next business day and it goes USPS. So it's all handled in a very standard way. So let's keep track of my time here. Okay, I'm gonna move a little quicker here. Lead building search. This is, again, I mentioned earlier, this is what you're gonna do when you wanna build large lists of properties that you wanna do mailers to or do skip traces for. And this is, it's a pretty simple mechanism here. The first thing you wanna do is tell us where to start your search. You can give us a city, a zip code, you can use your current location, you can search anywhere in the country, all 50 states. So I'm just gonna go to a street. So I'm gonna narrow it down to Taylor Oaks Drive. And then this map is gonna immediately show me this center point right here is the center point of my search. This circle here indicates the search radius. Actually, I apologize, I'm zoomed too far in. This circle here indicates the search radius, and you can see it's set to 20 miles. So from this center point, Taylor Oaks Drive, I'm searching a 20-mile radius. And then you can look over here, we've immediately got results. We've found over 10,000 properties, but what we haven't done is narrow those properties down at all. So that's our next step. We picked our center point, we picked the search radius. Let's click this button here to select a property type. Now let's assume we are only interested in properties that are likely vacant and let's say non-owner occupied. So likely vacant rentals. We can see that we have, now we're searching near Taylor Oaks Drive within a 20-mile radius for likely vacant or non-owner occupied properties, which means our list is going to contain properties that are either or of those things. Let's say we want to be more specific and we only want likely vacant and non-owner occupied. We just click this button all, and now all of a sudden we've changed our filter. So we found 4,327 properties that are likely vacant and non-owner occupied within a 20-mile radius of that search point, which was Taylor Oaks Drive. Now let's say, for example, we don't want to deal with that many properties. Well, there's a couple things we can do. We can make our criteria more strict, or we can go decrease our search radius. So let's narrow it down a little bit. Let's just go to 15 miles. So we can do that, and then instantly we've reduced to 1,939 properties. So maybe that's a little closer to the amount you want to deal with. And then we click the next button, continue to filters. This gives you a bunch of ways of narrowing down. Occupancy type is probably the most important. Let's say we're only interested in single family homes. So there we go, we've narrowed it down to 1,103. I'm only interested in properties with 40% equity minimum. Now I've got 1,047, so you can see what happens here. You can tweak these properties to your heart's content till you have the amount of properties that you want to deal with in this particular marketing campaign. I can go in and make sure that it hasn't been sold in the last couple of years, for example. If I'm searching for pre-foreclosures, I can make sure that the auction date is within a certain range. There's all sorts of filters here, which ultimately result in a list of properties. When I'm satisfied with my search, I can click show results and immediately see the properties here in the list with little tags that tell me a little more information about them. Now we filtered to require that each one be likely vacant and non-owner occupied, but we've also got a couple other attributes here. This one is saying this is an out-of-state owner. This one has had a mail delivery change, which means in the last 90 days, the US Postal Service is not sending mail to that address, which is another trigger or indicator to you that there may be a vacancy there. Here's a cash buyer that's likely vacant, mail delivery change, non-owner occupied. So you can quickly see all the attributes you get. Notice we've got 1,047 results. Now let's say we want to create a list to market to these people. I can simply select all. It says I've selected 1,047. Create a new list. We'll call it Marketing 1. Save. And then in the background, we're going to build that list for you, and it's fast. Unfortunately, I just created this account and I don't have the monthly quota, so I'm going to go ahead and use credits, but you won't have to do that because you get 1,000 per month automatically. So it says your properties are being added to your list, Marketing 1. Refresh the list after a few minutes. So let's go to that list, and boom, it's already there. This is my list called Marketing 1, and it's got over 1,000 properties in it. And now I can go through each one individually and start mailing campaigns, or I can select multiple and start a direct mail campaign. You can do one at a time or 1,000 at a time, or any number. It's completely up to you. While I'm in here, let's take a look at some of the other pieces of functionality that you get with your lists of properties. You notice this button here. This is our skip trace button. Now, to send a direct mail to a property, I only need the property owner's mailing address, which we give you right away. So there's nothing additional you need to do. But let's say you want to text that person or call that person or email that person, then you need to do what's called an instant skip trace. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. Skip trace one property. Each skip trace will consume 1/3 of a credit. So that's when you want to skip trace, you need to buy credits, and I'll go over pricing in a minute. Again, this is only if you need to call or email, but we give you 3 skips per credit. So I'm going to go ahead and click yes. It'll spin for a second and we're done. 1 skip trace complete. And now I've immediately got 2 phone numbers for that person. I did not get any email addresses in this particular case. So you can see how quickly you can do that. I could have also selected all 1,034 properties and skip trace them all at the same time. It would take a minute or so in the background, but it'll skip trace and give you phone numbers for every single one. I can also start a direct mail campaign from here. It's the same exact functionality you saw before. I can update my notes right here in my grid view, or I can go look at the property in a virtual view. Now, remember, I told you that it's not available everywhere. This is an example of a street that does not have a virtual view available. We use Google's Street View for that, so we're kind of limited to the areas that they've chosen to cover. Here's a property that does. You can see here, so you can just pop in and out of that anytime. We have another feature, and I'm gonna talk about our future features as well, but let me show you one of the current features we have. Is as you're adding properties, of course, time is going to pass and information about those properties may change. They may have been listed on MLS and dropped, or been added to MLS, or their valuation could have changed, or status, or so forth. Anytime you want to know if a property's changed, you can just click the refresh button and we will go pull the latest information for that property. Obviously, I just added this property, so there's not going to be any changes, but if there were, you'd see them reflected right here. And I'll go ahead and talk about our roadmap a little bit because I'm excited about it. We've got a feature that we're building now, which is going to do that for you automatically across all your properties in all of your lists. Every single month, we'll do a refresh for certain attributes that are significant, like the status of the property, the MLS listing status, that kind of thing, tax status. And we'll update those properties for you, and we'll send you an email that contains a digest of all of the changes for those properties. So you can quickly see, okay, this particular property has gone non-owner occupied all of a sudden, or it's now vacant or not receiving mail, or it's sold, time to move on, that kind of thing. So that's a soon upcoming feature we're going to be adding. Let me look down here and see if I've missed anything significant. I don't believe I have. I haven't gone over the owner tab yet, although I think it's going to be pretty intuitive. Again, we're on an individual property. If I go to the owner tab, I can quickly see the property owners. In this particular case, the owner is an LLC, so that'll just show up in the last name, and the owner's street address or the mailing address for that LLC is going to show up right here. For properties that are not owned by LLCs, you'll see a first, middle, and last name of the owner one. And if there are 2 owners on the deed, then you're going to see both of them listed here. And then we also have tasks where you can assign yourself things to do for that property. For example, I can assign myself the task to call that property, or assign someone else the task. Send them an email, send them a text message, make an offer, for example. There's all sorts of tasks you can assign, and those show up here in a list, and you just check them off as you complete them. So it gives you some accountability there. So let's go back and check a couple of the other features that I haven't covered. And they're going to show up over here. Don't be overwhelmed by this menu here, but if I select a property, I get this actions menu here that tells me all of the different things I can do to that property. Skip trace, we've already seen. Looked up a phone number and email address. Set status, excuse me one sec, allows me to change the status of my property. This is for your own internal use only. You can use this however you choose. Any property that you've just added is going to be in a new status. If you've started marketing to the property, you should change it to marketing. If you got an owner meeting, set it to owner meeting. It's up to you how you want to use these, or if you send an offer, set it to offer sent. And then this will allow you to filter through your properties a little easier based on the status. You can, of course, always export a list of properties, and we give you the fields. You can then import into Excel or Robocaller or some other dialer. I can add to another list. In this case, I don't have any other list created, but if I had, I could do it right here. Can, of course, delete the property, start direct mail, which we've covered. create optimized driving route. Let me show you here. So let's say we've got 4 or 5 properties that we want to go do a property visit on. We've built a list from some means. I can go create an optimized driving route. And what this will do, you can pick a starting location, which is typically going to be where you currently are. You can give it a name, and you can tell us approximately how many minutes you plan to stop per property. Again, this is kind of a guess, but this is just for planning. And then what we'll do is go ahead and create a completely optimized driving route for you from your initial start point. We'll tell you how long it's going to take you based on the drive time and the amount of time that you told us you want to stop at each property. And we're going to put these properties in the order that gets you through it the fastest. And it also gets you home. So it's a complete circle in this particular case, where we start from the initial location and go 1 through 5 and then right back home. Each property, we give you a go button that allows you to use your smartphone's navigation. So we don't build in turn-by-turn navigation into the app. We default to the one that you use on your smartphone because it's going to be what you're used to anyway. And in this case, Google Maps or Waze. So you can simply mark through or drive through. And then each one of these, you have access to certain features. I can view the property detail of that property on my driving route. I can mark it as visited, so I know how far I've gotten on my route. I can update its notes, set its status, or if I want to exclude this property from that driving route, I can just remove it. And of course, I can delete that property. So this is a pretty popular feature, especially for our driving for dollars folks. So I'm going to take a quick break here. Kristen, are there any burning questions that I need to address, or should I continue on with a few more things?
There's a few questions. So one of them is, how many leads can you pull a month through the building search?
In the base package, which is $49.95 a month, you can pull 1,000 leads. And when I say pull, that means actually add to a list. Your searching is unlimited. You can do these lead building searches like I just showed you, unlimited per month. And you can see all of these attributes before you add them to the list. But once you add to a list, we give you 1,000 per month with a quota. That's easily expandable. You can increase it to 5,000 per month by going to what we call our Lead Builder Pro, which is another $50 a month. And then we have an option that's 15,000 leads per month through this particular feature. And if you want more than that, just give us a call and we'll work something out for you. What else you got, Kristen?
Another one is, how recent are the Google pictures?
They are as recent as Google updates them. We actually go directly to them each time. So, we really kind of have to defer to them. So sometimes they're very recent, but sometimes they're numerous years old. So you wouldn't be able to always count on it to, for example, assess the quality of the roof or anything like that. But Google's gotten better and better about updating those.
Awesome. And then another one for right now is, can you do a text blast through the app?
Not through the app. We are working, and that's as part of the roadmap discussion I'll do at the end, but we're partnering with a CRM that we're going to integrate with in a very seamless way, which will allow you to pull properties into the CRM, and then using their tool, you'll be able to send text messages and emails, and you can have like cycles where they try different types of communication and then retry and so forth. But we don't have that natively. What we do is allow you to send texts through your own phone, but we will populate the message for you. You can go to any item in the list, you can text that property owner, and we'll fill in the phone number with a canned message that you can tweak. So obviously it's going to be hard to do that at scale, but for individual text, it works great. And that also is true for email. We'll use your own email client for you. So you're actually doing the sending, we're just populating the message for you.
And then somebody just asked if you could go over the optimizing driving route again, super quick, because they drive a lot.
Gotcha. All right, so I'll just go over the one that let's start from the beginning. What you're gonna do is you're gonna go to your property lists and choose the properties that you wanna drive to that day. So, and by choose, I mean you use these little check boxes here. Let's say you go through and you're just gonna pick 4, you can pick 5. I think you can do up to 20 per route. And then you go to actions, create optimized driving route. And then what you do is you give it a starting location, which is obviously where you're going to be starting from. And you give it a name. and then how many minutes. This is just for an estimate that you plan on spending at each property, and click create driving route, and that's it. It's literally that fast. And these are all saved for you automatically. So now that I've created this route, I might create it in the evening, and then tomorrow morning I'm going to go drive it. Well, it's going to show up here in my list of my driving routes, and I can just click on it. So here's the one I just created. It's a 2 hours of drive time, 4 hours total based on how much time I plan on spending on each house. I click it, and there it is. And this works perfectly on your smartphone. Each one of these little go buttons will interface with your smartphone's navigation to let you drive to those spots. All right, what else you got?
So one other question here says, can the system help me negotiate the lowest purchase price, and how would estimate repair costs to arrive at realistic ARV? Jerry, for the rehab repairs, you're gonna have to go to the property, walk the property, and things like that. And if you're in our partnership program, the team can help you with all that.
That's right. And we do have a couple, we call them offers here, where you can buy scripts that'll help you talk to property owners. And there's also a set of videos in here. This is really a fantastic package we put together, but there's a 45-minute long negotiation video that Pete has done. You know, Pete has negotiated thousands of these things, and he just basically brain dumped for 45 minutes on how to negotiate with these homeowners. And there's a video that's in here that covers that. So we give you the scripts to talk to them, how to call them, what to say in an email, what to say on the phone, and then how to negotiate with them is all in this package. It's $90 one time if you'd like this. And once you purchase that as part of your base product, then it's always available to you in this tool. All right, what's next, Kristen?
I think that's it for right now.
Okay. Well, I think I've covered all of the highlights. Let me just make sure, and then I want to talk a little bit about the future. We do have a dashboard here. So again, this is the view you're always going to see every time you log in. We try to tell you some useful things, how many property lists you have, how many marketing mailers you currently got going, your total credits, your properties by status, that kind of thing. And this dashboard will increase over time. Let me go here and see if I've missed anything. We've always got a what's new here. So once you become a user, you'll quickly notice that we enhance this tool all the time. And you can always go here to see the latest features. And we never charge for enhancements. We just keep adding to the product. And of course, we fix bugs as we find them. We've got a really nice help center here of training videos that's just baked right into the product. All of the major features are covered here. And we also have a YouTube channel, which has even more videos. So if you find yourself lost, this is an awesome place to go. Barry does most of these. He does a fantastic job. I don't know if you know him, but he's just got a really good way of explaining things. And each one of these videos is short. They're not long at all. And they just cover that feature pretty intensely. We also have an onboarding video that you're going to want to watch. It's baked into the product. And we have a guided tour of major pieces of functionality. Like we've got a guided tour that'll show you the whole process of finding pre-foreclosures and vacants in your area, or adding properties while you're driving. So it steps you through the process. So I think you'll find that really helpful. I covered the pricing, but let me go over it again really quick. So this is, it's $49.95 per month for unlimited searching. I mean, the barrier to entry here is really small. Our goal was to make this a product that anyone getting into real estate business can afford. It's not a stretch. And as you can see from here, you get all of these major features for $49.95 a month. No contract, cancel anytime, etc. There's really no catch. I promise you, you won't find the catch. We have a few optional features. The virtual driving for dollars that I mentioned is $15 a month. You know, there's a lot of costs associated with that. So that's a premium feature, completely optional. We also have a fully automated multi-step direct mail campaign feature, which is again, completely optional. But what this allows you to do, let's say you've got a process where you send out a mailer, and then a month later you send out one that says second notice. Another month you send out one that says third and final notice. This feature will allow you to design those series of mailers and then repeat them over and over again across properties. So you can get much more complicated with your mailing. And then I also mentioned the automated Google Street Views. If you're adding, 1,000 or 5,000 properties per month, for $20 a month flat fee, we'll go out and get the Street View pictures for you completely automatically. And then here's your quotas. Again, you get 1,000 properties per month or 12,000 properties per year that you can add to a list with the base package at $49.95 a month. You can expand that with Lead Builder Pro to 5,000 leads or Lead Builder Elite for 15,000 leads per month. Frequently asked questions, we talk about credits, how much credits cost, what is a skip trace, basically every feature of the product is described in here. And we talk about how there are no hidden fees, which is a fact. I think I've covered all of that. So let me quickly go over a couple things on our roadmap, features that we're currently working on or will be adding soon. A really big one, and we're working on it right now, is a cash buyer search. Right now, we can tell you if a property was bought for cash, and then you can look up the owner of that property and surmise that that owner might be an investor. But we're soon going to allow you to directly search for cash buyers. You're not searching for properties at that point. You're searching for owners who have purchased properties for cash in a particular area within a particular range of time. And we'll even tell you how many properties they bought and how much they paid. So this will give you a way to narrow down some cash buyers that you might want to market your properties to based on their prior purchases. We're also, if you've used the product before, you'll appreciate this, but we're going to make it so that it's much easier to search all of your existing properties. Because once you get in this and you start scaling, you're going to have thousands of properties saved. You're going to want a quick way to search them. So we're making it so you can search them by phone number, search them by owner name, search them by property type of your own properties, not just the ones that you're using to build lists. We are adding a very detailed cost estimator and project planner. The cost estimator will be really useful across all of your properties because you can quickly do an analysis to see if it makes sense. And then as you get down the process where you're doing the rehab, for example, or the fix and flip, we actually have a built-in project planner where you can schedule your contractors, keep track of dependencies, timelines, costs, obviously. So that's going to be a really nice addition to the product. Automatically refreshing properties, I mentioned earlier, where each month we're going to go through all of your properties and all of your lists and update relevant information that's changed, for example, the status of the property. We're going to have much more frequent pre-foreclosure updates. Currently, we're monthly, but we are working with a provider who's going to give that to us daily. So you'll be able to get kind of a jump on other people figuring out about those pre-foreclosures. And we also mentioned this earlier, but we're adding a detailed CRM that will allow you to do things like calling and texting, create a whole workflow, marketing workflow for that particular property or set of properties, and to track those throughout the whole cycle. That's our future. And I will look to see, are there any other questions or anything else that you'd like me to demo more thoroughly, or anything that you noticed that I forgot to cover?
Here's a question.
Most of the obvious stuff. All right.
Can I add my company's logo on a marketing postcard?
You can. You have to use our marketing templates, and depending on the complexity, we might need to help you, but we will do that for you. I mean, if you're planning on sending out a bunch of mailers, we have no problem customizing a template for you with your company's logo. But having said that, a lot of these have the ability to update the primary image anyway. And I'll show you what I mean. Well, first, let's go to signature. What you're going to want to do is in your signature, instead of a picture of your dog like me, you're going to have your company logo right here. And then if you choose to use that signature for your mailer, any of the mailers that include the logo will by default include your company logo. Now, I said that in a confusing way. But we have several people who will have a personal signature and a company signature. And depending on the type of mailer, they'll go back and forth between which one they use. So this would have your company return address, company name instead of your name, for example, here. And you can have unlimited numbers of signatures as well. So if you send from multiple companies or you represent multiple people, you can send mailers that way. All right, anything else?
Someone's asking if the new features will be additional fees.
Some yes and some no. That's a good question. It's a very fair question. The cash buyer search is going to be part of the base package. The granular search of your existing properties is part of the base. The cost estimator and the project planner will be a premium feature. There'll be a monthly fee. None of our monthly fees are large. We always want to keep everything very, very cost effective. I can't tell you exactly what it's going to be yet because I'm not sure, but it will be a very reasonable fee given what you're getting. The automatically refreshing properties will be baked into the base product, no additional fee there. Pre-foreclosure updates, no additional fee. The CRM, much like the cost estimator and project planner, will be a premium feature. There'll be an additional monthly fee to your subscription to use that. Pricing is not yet available. Let's see, I see a couple other questions, or what else you got, Kristen? I see one, if you
Sorry about
have,
that.
oh, no problem. If you have insufficient credits, will it refresh going into a new month? Not sure exactly what that means. You get 1,000 new properties each month. It automatically adds that to your quota. If that's what you mean. If that's not it, please elaborate a little bit. If I skip trace 120 properties, it may only trace 80 and skip 40. It will only skip properties that where it has enough information to do the skip trace. So if it's skipping the skip trace, then go look to make sure that you do have an owner name, or the address is populated. Occasionally you'll pull up a property that we just don't have owner information for, and then it's trickier to skip trace. So that's probably what's happening there. If that's not it, just shoot us an email at support@dealdriven.com. Even with a screenshot would be ideal, and we can dig into it further.
What about vacant lots or land?
Yes, we do have a vacant land search, and that is unfortunately not in this version that I'm demoing, but let me I'll get back to you on actually why that's not showing up in the because it will show up in the lead building search, but you should be able to filter it here by occupancy type, and that's not there. I'll have to talk to our developers and get that fixed, but you can definitely search for vacant land, and they will show up in the search results. So we have single family residential, multifamily residential, and vacant land currently, and we're adding commercial later down the road. So thank you for asking that, because that should show up here as the additional filter.
Here's one. So 1,000 leads a month. What if I only use 700 of them? Does it roll over to the next month?
No, it doesn't roll over. So it's 12,000 a year, 1,000 a month, however you'd like to use them. But you can expand your quota 1 month at a time. You don't actually have to commit to the monthly increase if you want. You can do it that way.
Okay, here's another one. Can I exclude vacant lots and land from my list?
Yes, you can. That's why that should be here in the occupancy type. It should show up right here. So if I just select single family, then by definition, I'm not going to be getting vacant land or lots in your list. So again, I'm going to have to ask development why that's not showing up here. And also, when you're viewing your results, you can be selective about which ones you want to add to the list. Now, I realize that's not tractable. If you're making a huge list, you're just going to want to select all. But if you're creating a small list, you can be very particular about which ones. But I know it's a long answer, but the answer is definitely yes. I'll figure out why that filter is not showing up.
And then somebody's also asking, will the CRM be included, or is there an extra fee?
The CRM, we're actually partnering with a third party for portions of that. So there will be an extra fee for that. It'll be a monthly fee. It won't be, anything ridiculous, but there will be a monthly fee. We haven't finalized pricing there.
I'm not seeing any other questions.
Okay. Well, good. The timing works out perfect because I do need to leave here in just a few minutes. So again, email us at support@dealdriven.com with any questions you have. We're very good about responding there, and we'd love to have you as a customer. So, and if you already are a customer, I hope you like seeing the new features and hearing about the roadmap. And Kristen, I very much appreciate your help tonight.
No problem. Thank you. Our fearless leaders are on their way to Tampa right now, which is why Ben has graced us with his presence tonight. And guys, I just put the link for the app in the chat. So if you don't have it, just go to www.dealdriven.com.
All righty. Thank you, everybody. Let's stop the share here.
All right, everybody, have a good night.
All righty. Bye-bye.